class is in session.
Why, hello. This is going to be about Thundercats. So this is going to be a Thundercats 101 Lost Edition. Why is that lost? Well, as you know, I believe next month they're coming out with Thundercats Lost, and it has 3 characters that we know and 2 that we don't. So with that, we're going to break down the 3 characters that we do know. However, it's going to be giving you a heads up. There's probably going to be some changes that's going to be done to their origins and stories like that, because this storyline is set it up to be a different path than what the cartoon was. If that's something you're interested into, well, sit down, buckle up, and chill out. But before I end up doing that, if you end up wanting to pick up any kind of books, you can go visit organicpricebooks.com, where you can use the code at 5th of Jack to save $2 off. Or if you have 4 or more books, use the code JACKIT to save 5% off your entire order instead. Orders over $30 ends up getting free shipping, so that's a good way of hooking you up and hooking us up. Because if you end up using our code, you end up helping us out because we get a little commission off that. And it's all the codes are evergreen, so you can use them whenever you want to. Alright, with that, let's go over and start breaking these guys down. I'll slide it right on over. We'll go over to Dynamite, be able to show you what we end up talking about. Here we are over at Dynamite. This is going to be the new series that they have that's called Thundercats Lost. This is going to be where they ended up having other Thunderians or other Thundercats end up exploring other different worlds to be able to find out a new world, because Thundera is about ready to go down. And when I mean down, I mean blow up. And then we'll go back into the regular ethos of Thundercats. So Thundercats Lost introduces a few different characters in there. We have this guy, which is a big bulky guy, and he's going to be a new Thundercat. And this wonderful woman right over here is going to be another one. So that leaves these 3 right here as Thundercats that we do have some experience with. Important to say, these 3 characters were introduced in Season 2 over at the first one, or in the broadcast movie of Thundercats Ho, where Lionel ends up learning about the new Thunderians that had ended up escaping, but came crashing down on Earth and with a bunch of roll bears, and they ended up setting up a camp and stuff like that. And then in the process, I believe Mum Ra found out about them, and they ended up capturing them, and there was a whole bunch of things goes over with it. But however, the big thing about that is that they're just Thunderians. So Thundercats was a royal or appointed position where you can end up having, and these guys were below that at that point. They were just Thunderians. So that's why I'm saying that these are going to have a new origins and new storylines, because as you can see, they're already Thundercats. So that's going to end up changing the kind of history that they end up having themselves. So what's these characters? Well, you have Amira that's in the back. She's a little bit more impulsive of a character, and her weapon of choice is a sling. Then you have Linkso, who ended up becoming blind in the process, and is more familiar of having a little radar bouncing thing that ends up having it with it, and his little blind sense where they came up with a special keyboard so he can end up being able to tell the difference between stuff, and actually ends up piloting the Thunderstrike, which is another new ship that they ended up getting it into that series. And he ends up actually taking it where it's near impossible to pilot, and he ends up piloting it through there like a sonar-like thing. I would assume it's kind of like something like Daredevil's, but I digress. And then we come to McGolly. This is a brother of Tigra. I don't know if it's like a brother because of kin or anything like that. But the biggest thing that he's done, well, before I end up tossing over to that, he ends up having a hammer, and he's a blacksmith by trade. So the big thing that he's done is actually repaired the Sword of Omens when it got destroyed or broken at some point. I believe in the series there's 4 different times that the Sword of Omens ended up getting broken, and this is talking about the original series. So And like I said, these guys were all introduced in the second season, and they became Thundercats because Lionel appointed them as Thundercats so they could end up staying in the cat's lair. Honestly, that's as far as we could end up going. There was some kind of character developments and everything, but that pretty much addresses the characters that we ended up wanting to do with this Thundercats Lost. A few things that we do know about the other characters is we did end up getting the names. So we got Sheen, that's going to be this right here, and this is going to be Ligon. The big thing about Ligon is that he's going to not have any weapons whatsoever, and he's going to be the biggest Thundercat there's been. So that's saying a lot when you end up having Groon the Destroyer, who was previously a Thundercat, and Panthro the Deadly, which is obviously one of the go-to Thundercats because he's the mechanic of the Thundercats. So this guy is going to be a big brawler is what he's going over with it. And by looking at the other pictures, we going to end up seeing Sheen. Let's see if we can end up getting an idea of what weapon that Sheen has. Looks like she's on the size. So the biggest character I can think of with size is going to be Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Elektra. So that's going to be a nice little thing that goes over differently. In this one, you can end up seeing the shield that Linkso has. And then we also have Amira with the sling. And for some reason, they have the hammer or the size. But like I said, Linkso or Bengali is known for the hammer and the blacksmith, where he ends up having a little, like, what would you say, like a stone or marble style of a thing, and he ends up hitting it with his hammer, and that ends up sending the projectile forward. So it's going to be exciting to be able to have new origins as we're going over. If you watched our video last month where we ended up geeking out a little bit about being so excited about getting new origins for these characters, you would understand why. And like I said, this is going to be something that's going to be amazing because we already have a basic origins that comes over with it before. Now we're going to have an option to have a different origins that's going to come after. So I don't know what we're going to be getting with Thundercats Lost. All I know is that we're going to be covering that here on the channel. It's going to be something that we're going to be picking up. So obviously, before we end up doing a video, we've got probably wait a few months afterwards. That way we get a little bit of the character development that comes out of it. Be able to figure out the backgrounds or anything like that. And like I said, this Thundercats Lost is going to be it's going to be a story that's going to be done monthly, and it's not slated to be a short story, so it's planned to be an ongoing story, just like Thundercats is. If you like the content that we're creating, hit that little subscribe button. While you're there, you might as well hit that bell and be notified whenever we come out with new content. Thank you for watching, and until next time, we'll see you guys later.